Hello and welcome to the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show on AudioSportsOnline.com and also XRB Radio, the voice of Hendricks County. Upcoming on this episode, we have a lot to cover tonight. We'll talk about the last couple of weeks for Avon football with head coach Mark Bless. We'll also recap last week's game and look ahead for what's in store for us this Friday and all the action underneath the Friday Night Lights. We'll also be joined by a couple of Avon football players, including center Brady Nyland and defensive end Rashawn Brent. They'll also join us today, and we'll talk to them. We'll also review all the action from around Hendricks County sports from last week. The McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show is brought to you by your local Avon or Brownsburg McDonald's. You can stop in any Brownsburg or Avon McDonald's and try two of their $2 tasty specials, the jalapeno burger or triple cheeseburger. McDonald's is a proud supporter of Avon and Brownsburg athletics and is proud to host the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show, taped Wednesday nights on location and aired Friday nights before football on XRB Radio 1610 AM. McDonald's has two locations in Brownsburg and Avon. In Brownsburg, they are located at the corner of Main and Odell next to Marsh and just off of Green Street next to Interstate 74. In Avon, you can find them at the corner of 267 and 36 next to Kroger or on Rockville Road next to Meyer. Today is Wednesday, September 16th, 17th, 2014, from the 267 McDonald's location in Avon. This is McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show, and I'm your host, JP Sinclair. And I'm joined once again by Avon head football coach Mark Bless. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Good, JP.
It's been a little bit of a rough week, but before we get into that, let's go and talk a little bit about the week before in that matchup against Hamilton Southeastern. And that was a pretty big matchup, all things considered, when you look at it. I mean, this HSE team, they've been up and down all season, but you really dominated them for much of that night. Was it surprising to see you and your team's game plan go so well that week?
Well, yeah, I'd say a little bit, because they played Carmel week one and lost to Carmel 14-13, and we were coming off a loss, a pretty sound loss to Ben Davis. So it was good to see that we came out and played with a lot of physicality. I thought up front on both sides of the line of scrimmage that we pretty much dominated in phases the game at the line of scrimmage, and that was a big difference maker to be able to run the ball and be able to stop the run. And, that night we threw the ball extremely well, too.
Well, you talk about throwing the ball. They're deep, their quarterback under center, Tyler Janey, the senior. You guys held him to a really pretty bad night throwing the football. 8 of 21 for 0 touchdowns and interception. Did you see something in the film that your defense was able to key in on to try and slow him down?
Well, like always, we try to practice, fundamentals and make sure we've got our bases covered in those regards. But I think the big emphasis, the big push that week was turnovers. Going into that game, we only had 1 turnover. And in that game, we wound up with 5 turnovers. So I think that was the big push for our defenses to get the ball.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about that turnover differential in that Hamilton Southeastern game. It was really the big difference maker for your team. You had 4 fumble recoveries and the interception, so you were really able to capitalize on Hamilton Southeastern's mistakes.
Right, and anytime, the defense gets the ball back in great field position, I think it gives us a boost offensively. It gives us a vote of confidence that we can do it again defensively. But, a lot of times we get points off those turnovers, and I think that was a big difference maker as well.
Well, aside from that Hamilton Southeastern game, your team ran into a very, very tough, now ranked Brownsburg team last week. Let's talk a little bit about them. I mean, there's so much hype going into that game here locally, and I was ecstatic to get home and watch it next Saturday on the archive feed for Audio Sports Online, which you can always do. You can check out any of the archived games on AudioSportsOnline.com. But I was really excited after I got home from the Plainfield game to go home and try and watch that one. But going into this game, you knew it was going to be a tough matchup. And then you also knew that, your senior feature back, Derek Tennant, was going to be limited. And while you got an incredible performance from junior Darian Love, it still kind of throws a wrench in that offensive game plan.
Well, it does. It does. Derek's, has been our main back, and, we want to showcase him. But, it's been pretty difficult with his injury he's working through. You watch him walk, you watch him jog, he looks fine. He just has a hard time planting and cutting and accelerating. But even all that said and done, he did get some reps the other night. But, I thought the Brownsburg game opened up very well for us. We got a 13-play drive, moved the ball down the field. Now we came up empty on points. But, we established ourselves a little bit offensively. And then we have a big play, sacked by Matt Thompson, recovery by Rashawn Brent. Gives us great field position. Offensively, we were able to punch it in. And then it seemed like we started having some difficulties throwing the ball, sometimes running the ball. But, and give credit to where it's due, I think Brownsburg came out and kept to their game plan and played extremely tough football and very sound football. And credit to them because they made plays.
Well, talking about Darian Love, we talked about how his performance was really, really outstanding in this one. Between him and Tennant, what separates the two when it comes to the way they run the football?
Well, I think Derek's got a little more strength, and he can cut and go a lot quicker when he's healthy. Darian hits the hole extremely well. He has good vision. Probably not quite the cutter that Derek is, but he does. Has a little shiftiness to him. But Darian runs hard, and he's been our guy we've been going to here in the last few weeks.
Well, aside from that, you also had a little bit more injuries pile up after that game. Senior lineman who was a couple of good offers, Joe Belton. He went down in the fourth quarter. I know a lot of Avon fans are concerned about him going forward, as well as your linebacker.
Yeah, first one was early in the game. I believe it was in the first quarter after a touchdown. There was kind of a debacle of a call. Who knows exactly, but the ball kind of rolled out of bounds on the kickoff. The referee never really blew the whistle. And, Brownsburg defender was waiting for the whistle and finally picks the ball up, reverses field. We make the tackle inside the one, but in the meantime, Zach Williams, our senior linebacker, is trying to pursue and just plants wrong and tears his ACL. So on that play, we wound up losing Zach, most likely for the season. But, turn of events, the ball gets spotted on the 20. So if the referee blows the whistle when the ball goes out of bounds, we probably still have Zach playing. Joe's got a meniscus issue. He was able to practice today, a little gimpy on it, but, he kind of took care of it all weekend, staying off of it, icing. Got evaluated, by our trainer on Monday and by the doctor on Tuesday, so he kind of gave him the green light to get some activity in. And I know Joe wants to be on the field.
Well, when you talk about those injuries and the way they can pile up, that's part of the reason why you have JV. And, you also have some freshmen. Do you look forward to trying to see what the people that are the players that you have that can fill in those roles and see what they can possibly do on the field?
Right. Of course, we see our JV practice every day because they're on the field with us. Our freshmen, we don't get to see practice because they're on one of the practice fields same time we're practicing. But we go to every home game, whether it be a JV game or a freshman game. So it allows us to evaluate talent and kind of project, down the road where they may be to be able to help us in the future. But, our JV players work extremely hard, and a lot of times they get the tough task of being on the scout team and running opponent plays. And sometimes that's not the funnest thing to be on because a lot of times they take a bit of a pounding.
Well, unlike the HSC game where you guys really dominated the turnover battle, it was pretty much even against Brownsburg. I'm sure that had a lot to do with the way that game turned out.
Yeah, I think that, we still are trying to go after the ball defensively. Hunter made some very nice passes in the game the other night for Brownsburg, and the receivers were definitely very sharp. So it was pretty difficult getting some picks in that game. And for us, I think our passing game was off a little bit Friday night, whether it be the timing of the receivers or Brandon being just a few seconds behind or split seconds behind in his passes. But we just didn't seem to be in very good rhythm passing the ball.
A lot of that is about rhythm and the timing between those two things. Do you feel like it was something that offensively it was on your team or the way Brownsburg defended you guys?
No, I would say it's both ways. I think Coach Neal, Brownsburg's defense coordinator, had a great scheme and kept us on edge and did a very nice job of blitzing when they needed to. So, it's a two-way street. Your quarterback's off maybe because of what he's seeing coverage-wise or because of the pressure he's feeling. And like I said, I think Coach Neal did a nice job of scheming up a defense for us.
Well, one thing I do want to talk about, it's been a story all year long here in Hendricks County, and that's the play of Brownsburg Jr. Tokes Akinrabadi. I mean, you guys held him really remarkable the way you guys held him. He only had 100 yards, and 79 of those came on one play, and it took them 24 carries to do so. When you look at those numbers, I mean, the team really did an admirable job on defense slowing them down.
We were very pleased with our run defense. Even after we lose, starting linebacker Zach Williams, our defense handled the adversity of some adjustments in there. And, we were led by one of the guys that's here tonight, Roshan Brent. Matt Thompson's another one. They both played very big for us. But I think across the board, defensive line played well. At times we needed to get more pressure on the quarterback, which hopefully we're working on. But I was very pleased with the way we played against the run outside that one play. And I think at that point, we're trying to go for a strip. Some guys are probably trying to strip the ball instead of secure the tackle. And Tokes is a good running back. It takes more than one guy to bring him down.
Mm-hmm. Well, you look at that game. I mean, Brownsburg Jr., Tyler Kurtz, the wideout for them, was really able to hurt that secondary of this Avon Oriole team. Was it the scheme for your defense to kind of set up Brownsburg to throw when you look at a guy like Akron Body coming out of the backfield?
Well, of course you want to take away what a team does very well. And that was our number one goal, was to stop the run. Unfortunately, they were on the game with their passing department. And, there were times I felt like we had good coverage and the ball was placed very well and receivers made catches.
I also want to talk a little bit about the play of sophomore Ian Pendleton in this one and his performance in the return game. He had 3 of them for really nice average of 20 yards per to kind of help set your offense up in that good field position. How has his growth impressed you in his second year?
Yeah, Ian's quick. He's shifty. Also, had a very nice return in the JV game the following day, which I think you're going to talk about later. So he does have some athletic ability that can, is going to contribute in the return game. But he's also accelerating at the defensive back position. So he's really getting better day in, day out.
Well, up next for your team is a non-conference matchup against mid-state foe Whiteland. So far, Whiteland has had a dominating win against Lafayette Jeff, a very surprising and close loss to a very good Center Grove team, right. A big loss to Decatur Central, and lastly, that win against a really good Franklin Community team in my estimate. What do you expect going into this matchup, Coach?
Well, once again, I think our defense, number one goal is to stop the run. Coach Fisher at Whiteland does a super job of running the jet offense. And, the first time you see it, you may think, well, that's just a guy in motion. Well, that guy in motion is coming full speed. And when he gets the ball, they execute it so well that he attacks the perimeter. And then once, if you play undisciplined and your linebackers jump out to help on the jet sweep, then they run ISO and power right underneath you. And they've got some fast cats that can get up the field quickly.
Well, you talk about that jet sweep, defending it. It's really hard because, if you're playing man-to-man, you have a guy going all the way across the field, too, to try and pick him up on the other side, and that guy's already got a full head of steam. Is there anything defensively you might do to try and slow that down?
Well, our number one thing is it's a deceptive offense because of the jet sweep, so you got to be disciplined. You got to stay at home. You got to do your job. You can't try to do somebody else's job. So I think the number one thing we got to do is make sure we play disciplined football on our defense.
Yeah, you talked about that rushing attack for the Warriors. They are getting about 180 yards per game, but they're only throwing for 33. So at least that's some of the stats I found on that team. Kind of a one-sided attack. So is there anything you'll do to try and force them to maybe try and throw the ball more?
Well, they do have a junior All-State receiver coming back, and he's very good, very athletic. He's about 6'4" and can run. I believe he had opened the game last week with a 90-yard kickoff return. So we can't ignore him by any means. The quarterback is more of a running quarterback than a passing quarterback. So we've got to be able to stop the run, but also be ready for the pass.
Well, before we let you go, Coach, I do want to talk a little bit about that JV team. I mean, they had a very thrilling little bit come-from-behind game against Brownsburg in the fourth quarter. And I heard from some people it was quite the comeback, so I wanted to ask you a little bit about that game.
Very pleased with our JV guys. That was the first game they won this year, and we had a JV quarterback that broke his thumb early in the season and had another JV quarterback step in that had not been a quarterback for us before, Jalen Cushenberry. And he had some struggles first couple games, being able to establish drives. So it was really neat for them to see them be able to come from behind and win a game like that. A lot of fight, a lot of heart, a lot of determination. So we were all pleased, and at that time, the day following our loss, as a head coach, I was very pleased to see that for our JV players.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Coach. Wish you the best of luck this week against Whiteland and heading up forth with the rest of the season. Hopefully those injuries will slow down a little bit so you don't have to worry about that in the future.
We need to put the brakes on those injuries, that's for sure.
You're listening to the McDonald Hendricks County Sports Show on Audio Sports Online. We'll be right back.
All right, JP.
All right, this is the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show on AudioSportsOnline.net, brought to you by your local Brownsburg and Avon McDonald's. You can stop in at Brownsburg or Avon McDonald's and try one of their $2 tasty specials, the jalapeno burger or triple cheeseburger. McDonald's is a proud supporter of Avon and Brownsburg athletics and is proud to host the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show, taped Wednesday nights on location and aired Friday nights before football on xrbradio.com and XRB 1610 AM. McDonald's has 2 locations, of course, in Brownsburg and Avon. Brownsburg, they're located at the corner of Main and Odell, next to Marsh, and just off Green Street, next to Interstate 74. In Avon, you can find them where we're here tonight at the corner of 267 and 36 next to Kroger, or on Rockville Road next to Myers. So stop in either Brownsburg or Avon McDonald's for their $2 tasty specials, the jalapeno burger or triple cheeseburger. And right now we do have a special treat for you Avon fans. We got a couple of fine young senior players here for the Avon Orioles, and we're going to be talking to the center, Mr. Brady Nyland, starting center. He's number 63. He's listed at 5'10", 250 pounds, a senior. Brady, welcome to our show. Just want to ask you, this is your senior year, of course, for Avon, so big year for you. What'd you expect coming in, or did you set any goals for yourself coming into this senior year?
The biggest goal for us to win is, the state championship. Our big goal is state, and then we set little stone goals and stuff, said HCC, team unity, stuff like that. So ultimate goal is win state.
You go for it all. That's right. Go for the top prize. Now, you at the center position here, Brady, is that something you've always done, or did you play offensive line, defensive line, or how'd you get to be a center?
I figured I was too fat when I was little to play, so I wasn't going to run the ball, wasn't going to throw the ball, so okay. I said I might as well hold the ball.
Sure. Well, that's a big position, though, on any football team, of course, on the offensive line in the center. Now, do you see yourself here now, are you still or kind of try to be the leader of an offensive line as far as setting, blocking, or how do you handle your senior center responsibility?
That's the goal. You want to be the leader as the center. You have to know every position, where they're going, how they're doing it, and you have to know everything. So you want to be that leader role where they have to ask you, where am I going?
I see. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been a long snapper? Now, I'm sorry, I missed that last week. I wasn't sure who your long snapper was. For punts and kicks.
They've tried me at long snapper. They said I was too slow, so
okay.
That only lasted for
so you
about
sit
a day.
there. Okay. Yeah. And then I wanted to ask you, too, now, Coach told us a little bit about this. I know you've played in Avon system for a while here, but you did have a shoulder surgery after your sophomore year. So, of course, you had to work hard and put some time in to come back from that. How'd you rehab that shoulder to get back to where you're at today?
It happened freshman year, and then I waited till junior year to get it fixed because I tried to fight through it, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So got the surgery done, and I hit rehab harder than anything I have, and that was the hardest thing I went through during high school, just to get through it and get back to where I wanted to be.
Was it painful lifting weights and stuff with that shoulder?
A lot of times, yeah. A lot of times it went numb and I couldn't feel it, and I just had to keep fighting through it. So.
And now look, here you are, starting center, in your senior year.
Exactly.
So that's good. What's it like to work with a fine quarterback like Mr. Brandon Peters?
Brandon's a cool guy. He's a really good quarterback. He's good with the O-line, and he's a real team player. So it's a real honor to get to play with Brandon. And
Yeah, I bet. Now this season, I know you want some more wins. Brady, you're 2-2. How do you feel the season's gone so far? Just give us a little recap on these 4 games.
I think these 4 games, they've had their ups and downs. When we're up, we're really up. And when we're down, we're really down. So we have to fine-tune that. So when we have those up and downs in the game, but we have to find out how to deal with those.
Yeah.
Find that medium.
Yeah, well, we're hoping you come back good and strong this week. Now, of course, last week, the big rivalry game versus Brownsburg. And I know Brownsburg has some good size at that nose tackle position. When you see a big guy lined up across from you that may be bigger than you, what do you try to do? Get low, or how do you try and block that?
I try to get low, blow him off the ball, out-muscle him pretty much. Size doesn't mean you're a good football player. The low man wins at O-line, so that's the first goal I try to go up.
Of course, and we talked about Brownsburg and others, and this Hoosier Crossroads Conference features a lot of tough teams. You know that. You're a senior now, so you're going up against big guys each week. But, we all want wins, and, of course, that's important. But playing football like this, big program like Avon, it's got to be fun for you, too.
Oh, yeah, it's a blast playing every day. Even going to practice every day, it's just great opportunities to go play football every day.
Brady, has there been somebody, that has really helped you throughout your young football career here, and now you're getting ready to graduate, but is there somebody you'd like to give credit to that's helped you along the way here?
Our O-line coach, Coach JJ, he's pushed all of us to a different level of just technique-wise, and then our strength coach, Coach Ballou. He took us from nothing to big kids. We're the strongest school in the state.
And I bet you he really helped you along with your rehab, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. I know you still got some time, but you're a senior, so we always like to ask, you got any plans for next year yet?
I'm looking in a couple colleges. I'm going up to Manchester this weekend, and I'm hopefully getting my options here in a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you got time. You're doing a good job this year as the senior center. Brady, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Sir, thank you for having me.
All righty. All right, we're going to get another player in here pretty soon. We thank these guys for coming out and joining us, doing a good job here for Avon football. Here's another senior, defensive end, Rashawn Brent. He's number 24, listed at 6'1", 235. Like we said, a defensive end. Here you are, Rashawn, your senior year. You made it, man. So how about you going into this year? What kind of goals did you set or anything you wanted to get accomplished this year as a senior?
Well, my first goal this year was pretty much just to get noticed more than I did last year and try to get to where each week I'm getting better as a player, as a person, on and off the field. And then, one of our biggest goals as a group was to win the 6A championship. And then after the 6A, our second goal was to win the HSC conference championship.
Sure. Rashawn, then, of course, you're a defensive end now. Have you always played D-line? Did you play some offensive line? Or how'd you get slotted into that defensive end spot?
Well, growing up, just like Brady said, pretty much I was pushing that weight limits to where I couldn't really run the ball and stuff like that, so I always had to play either a defensive line or offensive lineman. So I just stuck with defensive line because I felt like, because my body type and stuff like that, I was more athletic and speedy enough to get off the edge.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun, too, isn't it, chasing down quarterbacks and making some plays off the end there, right?
Oh, yeah, you're never going to have another feeling of where you're getting a sack on one of the best quarterbacks in the state and stuff like that.
Now, Rashawn, did you see a favorite pro defensive lineman that you really like or try to be like out there on the field?
Well, I say right now my favorite defensive end or defensive lineman in general is probably going to be Greg Hardy for the Panthers. Mm-hmm. So, and then
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then probably after Greg Hardy, it probably have to be a Julius Peppers type player.
Yeah. And then how about your conditioning and lifting? I know you guys. You don't just that's the thing. A lot of fans and some of us in the media, we just see you guys playing games. But there's a lot goes into this football besides just playing the game. So how about your conditioning and weightlifting? Like Brady said, I know you guys got a good strength conditioning program at Avon.
Oh yeah. Usually people just assume that football players really don't do that much. All they see is pretty much the Friday games and stuff like that. They don't know the grind that we have to do. Friday mornings, waking up at 6 in the morning, going through weekly day practices, 2-a-days, 3-a-days, stuff like that. People don't understand the stuff that Coach Blue pushed us through because we're playing one of the toughest schedules we played throughout Avon history, and we had to be prepared for this season. We have to get bigger, stronger, faster, all types of stuff this year to where we can compete with other teams.
And that work goes in the summer, too.
Yeah.
You're running and lifting weights where a lot of kids are down on the Florida beach. You guys are working, right?
Yeah, and we started out the grind since like November.
Wow, okay. So far this season, do you feel like you're getting better each game? I mean, it's hard to do. I know you're a senior. You know what's going on out there. But through these 4 games, how these 4 games been for you, Rashawn?
I pretty much, since the Lucas Oil game, I pretty much watched every game film and see what I can get better at, either if it's squeezing down the line, getting off the block faster, being able to read the block faster, stuff like that. And I felt like since the Lucas Oil, pretty much more like the Ben Davis game, where it wasn't like what we wanted to come out as, but I felt like watching that game film, it showed me where I was at as a player and what I had to work on from there.
Very good. Okay, and then, of course, last week you had your big Brownsburg rivalry game. I know you guys wanted a different result, but how'd that game go for you? I know that from the booth we called your name a lot, Rashawn, so you did a lot. You were active. You made some plays, but tell us about that game last week.
That game, man, I'm still having feelings about that.
Understand.
Like, that week we were going into it talking about, oh, this is Brownsburg. We have to get hyped. This is the biggest game. This is the big game because it's Rivals Week. We never want to lose to a rival. And then once it came to game time, we just had that mentality aware that we're not going to lose this game. But at the same time, I felt like we came out too hyped and like we lost a lot of the energy coming out into the game at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because first half they scored like on one drive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was 7-0 at the half or whatever.
Yeah.
Playing on the road now. You got a big game here Friday night at Wylam. How you like playing on the road, Rashawn? A lot of players, they don't mind that. Of course, you're hyped up for your big home games, but tell us about playing on your road. You ought to know about that now here in your senior year.
Playing on the road, I mean, it's nothing really different than playing at home besides the crowd. Mm-hmm. Once you get there, you just got to zone that out and have that mentality to where you're not going to listen to the crowd, you're not going to listen to anybody else. Because, I mean, once you get to the road, once it's a road game, you're probably not going to get the same calls you get at home and stuff like that. So you just got to be prepared for anything. You got to play the way that you got to play every single play, like pretty much by our standards for our football team is by any means. We have to go in there and go out and grind for every single play and stuff like that.
Very good. Rashawn, just want to ask you, too, now, has there been somebody who's really helped you along here, getting ready to wrap up your high school career here, but somebody who's really helped you along in that?
Pretty much, I think the one player that's probably helped us out he graduated last year was Mac Duffin.
Yeah.
So he ended up helping me a lot through my junior year, talking about keeping my head up and stuff like that, pushing me throughout practice to be a better player, always telling me stuff that I can work on and stuff like that, always pushing me to get better and everything that I can possibly do.
Very good. Got any plans for next year yet, Rashawn? You still working on that?
I'm still working on it. I've gotten interests from a couple colleges like Marion and UIndy and stuff like that. So
terrific. Well, you're doing a good job. Get back there and go get them this weekend. Thank you, though, for joining us, Rashawn. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Rashawn Brand, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show. I'm JP Sinclair, and once again, joined by Chris Worley. Once again, just amazingly impressed every single time we talk to some of these players.
Oh, yeah. Especially seniors like that, just terrific kids. Both of them did a fine job there. And, I know they want some more wins, 2-2, and they were disappointed after last week. So then, they don't sit home and brood about it. They go right back to practice, and then here they are coming out to do our show and talking so well about, their high school careers. So we appreciate that. Two good kids there, Brady and Rashawn.
I was really impressed. You talked about calling Rashawn's name so often. I mean, that he's very active. I mean, if you Like, particularly if you watch football games, I always recommend watching the line.
I do too.
That's where most of the plays
Yeah,
happen.
absolutely.
People don't realize that, but it's the truth. Don't follow the ball. Watch the line.
Proud of you, JP. And you know, a center, too. Center touches the ball in every play.
Yep,
And,
people don't realize that much either.
And what happens if there's if they mess up that exchange? So they got to be spot on every time. And like Brady talked about, a center position is often a leader on that offensive line. You're watching other people, and hey, you need
Calling
to
out
block
the
this.
blocks.
Yeah,
Yep.
here they switch up, and you got to do this. So
Blitz is coming from that side.
right, most centers are smart. I mean, look at the NFL now. You got Jeff Saturday's in a leadership position in the NFL and the Colts. So most centers are smart. I think they're smarter than we are, JP.
Well, that's debatable right there.
Two good kids, though. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very much well said. Very well-spoken kid. So let's go and talk a little bit about last week. We continued to do our pick'em games from last week in our own little pick'em challenge. You made up some ground last week.
Progress.
So in last week's games, I picked first, and I chose Avon over Brownsburg. I also picked Westfield over Noblesville, and then I picked my alma mater, BRIP, that is Broad Ripple High School, to triumph over Indianapolis, Washington. So let's go ahead and review those games. Like we discussed earlier, Brownsburg got the big win against Avon 27-7, so that was one victory for you. And then Westfield also lost to Noblesville 17-12, so that was two victories for you. So it came down to the Rockets.
I really needed to win 3 out of 3, but
it came down to the Rockets, so I could avoid that broom coming through to sweep me clean.
the first win of the season.
It came
Fantastic.
through the first one of the season
Yeah.
for Broad Ripple, beating Indianapolis, Washington. That final score in a really close game was 22-20. So big week for you, Chris, but I still lead on the season 5-4.
All right. This week's going to be – I'm going to pull ahead this week. Going to be tough, though.
Okay, well, I picked first last week, so you'll get to pick first this
Alrighty.
week. The 3 feature games I have written down are Brownsburg against number 10 ranked Fishers, and Brownsburg's actually ranked now as well. So with the way their season's going, they're both ranked teams now, so that'll be a good one. The Tigers are 3-1 on the season and have really one of the best defenses in the state that gets after the quarterback and that gets close to 2 interceptions per game off of that kind of pressure. So which team you got?
Well, I do hope everybody's watching from Brownsburg, but I hate to do it. I'm gonna go with Fishers in this game. I think they may be, just from what we know and seeing a little bit of this conference so far. I think they're the conference leaders. I think they may be the best team. So I'm gonna go with them at home. Sorry, Brownsburg. I hate to. Brownsburg could win. They're going to score a little bit now. We saw that again. Brownsburg can score. And
Brownsburg came big up on some very surprising games. It would not surprise me at all if Brownsburg is able to continue that momentum they got from that Avon game right into this Fishers game. So
you're going to pick them to win this game?
Well, yeah, I'm going to pick Brownsburg over Fishers. So
write that down. I know you will.
Yep, I've already got it written down.
Right, yep.
So 2 of the top 3 teams in the state are facing off this week. So it'd be kind of remiss if we didn't pick this game. That is 4-0 number 1 ranked Ben Davis at 4-0 number 3 ranked Warren Central. I get the feeling this game's going to get a little bit of coverage, Chris.
Oh yeah, no doubt. All the local media. This will be the first game on. All the highlights at 11:20 p.m. So,
well,
no doubt.
I'm going to I might surprise you with this pick. I'm going to pick Warren Central.
Okay.
So it's back in my day, Warren Central was the team to always beat.
Yeah.
So I know Ben Davis has always had an historically great program, but these are 2 schools that have historically great programs, and I think it's really going to come down to who can throw the ball and who can defend the ball in the pass.
Yeah.
And I think Warren Central has a great secondary, great defense. And even though Ben Davis has that really high-powered offense, I think that Warren defense is going to get some pressure right up the middle.
Okay, well, here's a surprising stat. I think most people would be surprised about this. Last 30 years, in between this meeting, for going back 30 years, Warren Central has actually won more than Ben Davis, 21-18. Warren Central, that would surprise me. I thought Ben Davis would be ahead like 10 games, but I'm going to go with Ben Davis in that high-powered offense. Kastner, the quarterback. They're just scoring so many points. They're just overwhelming people. I realize this is a very tough game, but I got Ben Davis in this one.
And finally, the other game that I picked out was 3-1 Bishop Chittard versus 2-2 Cardinal Ritter at Lucas Oil Stadium. So it'll be a great environment for the kids to play in. We've talked about that before. Chittard has mostly dominated this series going back a few years, but Ritter did win one really big a couple years ago, 56-33. So it'll be a really, in my opinion, a very good game between two teams.
Yeah, Chittard, of course, ranked first in Class 4A. Okay, if I guess I'm picking first on this, so
Correct.
I'm definitely going to go with Chittard down at the stadium. Big game. I expect there'll be a big crowd for this. That'd be a very enjoyable. I think that's the first game. I think they're the 5:30 game, not the later game. But yes, they are the 5:30 game at Lucas Oil. So I'm going to take Chittard.
So to review, I got Brownsburg, Warren Central, Cardinal Ritter,
Okay.
and you have Fishers, you have Ben Davis, and you have Bishop Chittard. So those are all three games that I would not be surprised if they win either way, because those are
That's
those are
true.
6 really good teams in the state.
Brownsburg guys, go out and prove me wrong. Brownsburg fans, don't hate me, please.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the results from around Hendricks County fall sports, and we'll start with Brownsburg. The varsity football team defeated Avon last Friday night by a score of 27-7. Brownsburg scored 27 unanswered points on the way to the home victory. The defense was led by Brad Gollinger. He stepped up to hold the visitors well below their normal scoring average, that is Avon. Quarterback Hunter Johnson was outstanding in this one.
Yeah.
24 of 35 passing for 289 yards, 2 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. Those 2 touchdowns went to Vincent Lismon and Tyler Kurtz, who we had on the show last week. Kurtz tied a school record for receptions in this game with 11 catches for the 137 yards that he got on the day. So it was a very, very good game for Brownsburg.
Yeah, it really was, JP. Their defense surprised me. I think it helped Brownsburg that Tennant, he got in the game. We were surprised at that, but he's not 100%. You could see that. But all the things Coach Bless talked about, too. But what I really liked about Brownsburg here is if they run last year's offense in that game, they don't win it. But because they changed their offense this year, and now they have a passing game, that's how they won this game. Avon defense was tough. I mean, they pretty much shut down Tokes, as you guys talked about, except for one run. So now Brownsburg can vary their offense a little bit, and they had Hunter just dropping back real short, bang the balls out of his hand to these short receivers, and it nullified the superior defensive line that Avon had in that game. So a good game plan by the Brownsburg coaches, too.
Jose Hacker had another accurate night, hitting the 2 field goal attempts he attempted from 22 and 25 yards out, and he also was 3 of 3 on PAT, so he continues to get the job done in the kicking game for Brownsburg.
He's 4 out of 4 on field goals this year.
And you talked about Akron-Body. I mean, we talked about with Coach Bless as well. I mean, he finished scoring, but it took that 79-yard one run to really get him into that 100-yard mark that he's basically shattered every single game.
Yeah.
And you expect from, I mean, he's still going to be a 1,000-yard back. There's no doubt in my mind. But Avon really found a way to help him in check.
Yeah, they really did. Their defense, we kept calling those linebackers and defensive line making tackles the whole time. I am distressed, though, that to hear about Zach Williams. We had him on the show, his first in Avon first week here. I did not know that was an ACL of his knee. I saw him go off the field. I didn't think it was serious. So, of course, then we were all worried about Joe Belden, too, but we think he's going to come back. But very sorry to hear about Zach. But that was a big-time win for Brownsburg. Surprised me, and that may set them up now for a very big season.
The Bulldogs look to carry that momentum into Hamilton County on Friday night as they travel to Fishers. So like we talked about, that'll be a very good game to keep an eye on this coming week. The boys cross-country team traveled to the Ben Davis Invitational last Saturday morning, and they overcame some terrible injuries of their own. They were missing 3 of their top 7 runners, but they were still able to run to a very nice 6th-place finish out of 17 teams in that invite.
It's a wonder more cross-country. I know they're young kids and pretty supple and lithe, but, boy, it's a wonder they don't get more injuries. They're running a lot, and they don't just run in the meets. They're getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning doing their runs then, too.
I get up 6 o'clock in the morning, but I don't run.
I don't either. No.
That's probably something I need
get
to work
McDonald's coffee, and that's about it for me.
Once again, leading the Bulldogs was junior Harry Sathamurthy in 6th place overall with a time of 15 minutes and 50 seconds over the 3.1-mile course. All 7 of the Bulldogs varsity squad set personal records on the day, so it was a very nice outing for them.
Yeah, no doubt. Good job.
In the same invite, the girls cross-country team placed 7th out of 20 teams. Senior Julia Popenfoos finished with her best time by 75 seconds to finish in 15th place out of 139 total runners in that 3.1 miles, a very impressive mark of 19:18. So very nice run from her. Cassidy Brown was right behind her in 16th place also with a new best and personal time of her own at 19:30.
Yeah, and then they have they're back in action Saturday at Flash Rock Invitational, Northview Christian Church, and they're going to have some good weather Saturday. So it's been a little cool now, which I know the cross-country folks, of course, like better than the heat. But
I'm sure after the heat wave we had a couple weeks ago, and now it's really cooled off. So
yeah, they like that. It's going to warm up again Saturday.
Brownsburg girls golf scored a great round of 164 at the West Chase Golf Course to beat out Greenwood with a score of 172. Co-medalist Emma Wilkins scored her best 9-hole score of the season with a 39. Macy Snap was close behind with a 40. The varsity lady golfers returned to the links Thursday night and had another terrific round of golf against 4th-ranked Martinsville. The Bulldogs just missed the victory by a single stroke.
Wow.
168 to 167 was
one
the
putt
final.
that didn't go in.
Yeah, Emma Wilkins once again led the scoring with the masterful 40, but to lose by 1.
That's tough. Every stroke counts. Somebody missed a putt somewhere, or took a second shot that went wrong, or maybe a penalty shot. But that's tough.
The girls' varsity team also traveled to Smock Golf Course on the south side for the Franklin Central Invite on Saturday. They also played a good round there. The team's overall score was 363, and it was enough to earn them an 8th place finish out of the field of 15 to improve their score by 17 strokes from last year in the same invite. So it was a much improved team this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
The girls finish up their regular season play on Thursday this week at North Central. The boys' varsity tennis team had a great senior night. They finished winning the game. Not the game. Can't call it a match. The match, 4-1 over Noblesville.
Yeah, good.
Senior Sam Peterson had a really stellar night with a very convincing straight set victory at the number 1 single spot. Greg Folling, once again, another one of those names that we've called out all season long at number 2 singles, had a likewise remarkable win on the court.
Yeah, he's just a freshman having a good year.
The team met up with 3 state-ranked teams this weekend at the Zionsville Invite. The varsity played the number 1 ranked Carmel Greyhounds in the morning match and lost 5-0. In the second round of play, they faced number 19 Zionsville and lost again 5-0. But in the final round against number 22 Floyd Central, the Bulldog varsity lost by a match score of 4-1. So it wasn't the best invite for the team.
No, but I tell you what, this pointed up to me, and I know you follow and know high school tennis a little bit also, but to lose by those scores to Carmel and Zionsville, that sounds terrible. Actually, it's really no disgrace, because it really in high school tennis there tends to be 6, 7, 8 top schools that are always at the top and always winning these kind of matches 5-0. Carmel, Zionsville, Center Grove, Park Tudor, of course, North Central, Cathedral. Those schools are always at the top. That's just the way it is in high school tennis, and it's an also-ran field for the rest of everybody. Once in a while, somebody will step up. But you look at the Final Four, which I love going to the high school tennis finals. You look at the Final Four every year. It's Park Tudor, North Central, Carmel, Zionsville, Center Grove. It's always the same.
And we've talked to football coaches before, and they say playing those kind of the opponents gives them a measuring stick to see where they're at.
That's right.
So it kind of gives Brownsburg boys tennis team a chance to kind of see where they're at and where they need to get to.
Yeah.
I'm going back to my own experience. You talked about. Park Tudor. I remember we played them one year.
Sure.
It was bad, but I was kind of surprised. I did almost win one set. So almost winning one set against Park Tudor kind of gave me a little bit of momentum heading into the Indianapolis Public School Championship.
Well, you play those kind of schools in tennis. That's the big time right there.
The team was supposed to play at Ben Davis Monday, but it was weather delayed. They'll also play at Covenant Christian Thursday prior to the HCC tournament Friday and Saturday.
I will be at the Covenant Christian match. I have a nephew on the Covenant Christian team, Mr. Caleb Meadows, that I was his first tennis coach. So I may be rooting against Brownsburg in that match, but I'll root for him in the other 4.
And except for football, too.
Yeah, this is a tough week for me. Sorry.
But it'll be interesting when you talk about it. HCC tournament Friday and Saturday night, so and then once again that Covenant Christian game. So the volleyball team improved to 6-1 on the season with a 3-0 sweep of McCutcheon. The offense was led by Avery Brown, Brooke Gregory, and Claire Hathaway with 13, 9, and 8 kills respectively. The defense was again solid, and then Avery Brown had 2 blocks, and Mackenzie Harless had 6 blocks, and then Riley Cookery had 13 digs. So it was a good outing for them.
Yeah, just an update on the HCC volleyball standings. They haven't played many conference matches, but overall, it looks like Westfield is at 13-5, Avon at 11-5. This is wins overall, like we said. Brownsburg 7-2, so they've got some matches to make up. Hamilton Southeastern 9-5, Noblesville 13-4. Then Fishers and Zionsville bringing up the rear. But this HCC's done well in volleyball play overall this year.
Yeah, I talked about that Avon team. They've really come a long way from where they started the season. The winning streak for Brownsburg, though, did continue as the team advanced to 7-1 on the season with a 3-0 victory over North Central. The Volley Dogs were able to overcome a 42 ball control errors to secure the victory. So they were able to overcome kind of their own worst enemy.
Yep, Volley Dogs. We like that.
The offense was once again led by Avery Brown with 14 kills. Claire Hathaway had 7. Allie Byers registered 29 assists in the match. So she was doing a pretty good job setting up her teammates.
Yep, no doubt.
The volleyball team did drop their second match of the season, though, 0-3 to Avon. The offense was led by Avery Brown with 14 kills. Allie Byers had another good night distributing with 36 assists, but they ran into a very, very good Avon team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's a big matchup. Avon's tough, of course, former state champs.
The team is back in action tonight against Greenwood. They also have Fishers tomorrow, and then it comes down to turning time for the HCC on Saturday at Plainfield.
Yep.
So, very, very busy week coming up for them. Also, the boys varsity soccer team faced off against top-ranked Avon last Tuesday evening. Senior Gare Eads had another very good performance in the goal. Senior Gabe Garcia and junior Lakey Chumley played well in the midfield for the Bulldogs, but the squad took the game down to the final corner kick restart, but just fell short. 0-1 to the Orioles.
0-1 to the Orioles. One loss there. So one goal in that loss. So Avon versus Brownsburg in soccer, those kids, that's their big rivalry game too. So that's always a thriller, and it wasn't that.
The boys varsity team lost to Hamilton Southeastern 0-3 as well. The boys varsity soccer team played host to number 13th ranked Cathedral. Once again, Eads stood up in the goal with another clean sheet. Unfortunately, neither team was really unable to convert on the offensive end of the ball, and the match ended in a tie. But when you can tie Cathedral, that's still a very good mark.
No doubt. Good effort.
The team played they played last night against Fisher, and they'll play at Ben Davis tomorrow, and then at Westfield next Tuesday.
They did win against. I'm sorry, JP.
Good.
They did win that Fishers game last night, 2-1. Brownsburg over Fishers.
So that's a very good, HCC matchup that they were able to get done. Let's go and take a look now at Plainfield High School. The Plainfield football team still continues to get some continues to try and get some wins on the early season. They've dropped now to 1-3 following a tough loss to Roncalli, 27-3. Roncalli scored 14 early and just really never looked back. Junior running back Jacob Maple did return in this one.
Oh, good.
But he was still favoring his foot injury, and really the surprise of the evening for us up in the press box was a no-name player. We didn't know who it was. Roncalli's guys didn't know who it was. It finally took, halftime. I leaned over to one of the coaches sitting next to me. I'm like, who is that?
Yeah.
We need a name if we're going to say his name that much. He had 10 carries in the game for an average of close to 5.7 yards per carry, and it turned out to be Dylan Foster.
Dylan Foster.
Yeah, he had just joined the team a few weeks ago, and he did provide a meaningful spark for the Quaker team. Yeah. Coaches said that the team really rallied around him to look, and they look to use that momentum going forward this week against Greenwood.
Okay, good. Let me ask you, JP, I know you've seen this Plainfield squad several times. Of course, you've talked about it, their struggles on offense, but what about their defense? They've been hard-pressed, and, of course, when your offense is struggling, the defensive guys always feel like, man, we got to pitch a shutout here.
Yeah, and I feel like this Plainfield defense does feel that way. I mean, they've had some really good moments, including a couple of goal line stands. Really, they've done a good job in the turnover battle, too. It's just the offense has not really been able to capitalize. They've been trying to find something going in the running game. And, Nicewinder's their quarterback. And even though he's a senior, he just doesn't have the strongest arm.
Yeah.
And they just haven't been able to really take advantage in the passing game. So that's really what's really hurt them during the course of the year.
Well, if they can get some running out of this Dylan Foster, maybe that'll help them.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, Dylan Foster, when he came in, Leck, Zorn, and myself, we were calling the game. I'm not going to say awestruck, but it was kind of awe-inspiring because you didn't know. It was just all of a sudden, who's this guy in there?
Right.
We've called so many names out of the backfield for Plainfield.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the fact that he was productive. It was the way he was productive. And when he'd get past the line of scrimmage, there was no slowing him down. He would bounce off tacklers. And it was really great to see. He would spin in the open field, and he had a good grip on the ball. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to Greenwood to see how many touches he gets in that one, because I don't think his conditioning was quite there yet. When you don't, you're only been with the team for a couple of weeks, you don't have the two-a-days and everything that goes on before. But he looked really good, so I'm looking to see what he does this week.
Yeah. Now at Greenwood.
At Greenwood.
Okay, at Greenwood.
So it'll be a trip down to see the Woodmen of Greenwood for Plainfield this week.
I'm sorry, Greenwood. That's the Green Bay Packers uniform, I think. Doesn't it look just like the Packers?
It's green.
Okay. I think it does. I think they have the G on the side. I think it does.
The boys soccer team is now 8-1-2 on the season.
Wow.
They beat Decatur Central 4-3 last Thursday, and they continued their winning ways against Cardinal Ritter 4-2 on Tuesday. They play also against Greenwood this week on Tuesday as well, this Tuesday.
Yeah.
So.
Good. So they've really done good. Look at that 8-1-2 mark. Terrific.
The girls soccer team went 2-1-1 last week. They tied Bishop Chatard, dominated Decatur Central 5-0,
Wow.
and then they hosted Evansville Reeds, but fell short 5-3. They rebounded from that loss, though, to score a 2-1 victory at Brownsburg on Monday, and then they face the Franklin Community Grizzly Cubs tonight.
Well, that was a long road trip up here for the Evansville Reeds people, but they got a win up here, so long bus ride.
That makes the long bus ride back home, though, more sweet.
A little bit.
So the Plainfield girls golf finished third of 7 teams in the Mid-State tournament last week, so a very, very nice mark for them. Freshman Caleb Bench placed third in the conference with a score of 76 and was selected to the all-conference team as a freshman. So we've been talking about her all season. She continues to impress.
What is she going to do by the time she's a senior? I bet she's going to be an all-state performer.
LPGA, anybody?
Yeah.
So it's she did a good job in the sectional, or excuse me, in the conference. Was selected to that all-conference team, and then they also won at Decatur Central 179-233. Now they're preparing for sectionals that start this Saturday.
Yeah, sectionals, here we go.
The Quaker ladies volleyball team took to the court at Avon, but they fell short 0-3. They also played at the Noblesville Invite. They lost in the first round against West Dell 0-2. In the second round, they lost to Huntington North 0-2. But they did win in their third round against Frankfort 2-0. And then the fifth place final match, they beat Union City 2-0. So it was a fifth place finish for them in that invite. The Quaker ladies also lost to Franklin Community to the Grizzly Cubs 0-3. They play against Brownsburg Saturday and then Mooresville next Tuesday.
Okay, like we said, busy time in volleyball for the girls.
Let's go ahead and take a look now at Avon High School. The Avon football team fell to rival Brownsburg last week. And we talked about it already, but we'll talk a little bit more about it now. It was a very interesting match. I mean, the Orioles seemed a bit lost on the offensive end, to me anyway, without their go-to runner and Tennant. And they received an admirable effort from Darian Love.
Yeah.
I mean, he put up some really good numbers, but it kind of changes how you approach that running game.
It does, and Coach Bless talked about when you compare those two. Of course, Mr. Love not as big and strong as Tennant, but he had a good game. He's very elusive. Of course, he's got speed. So it was good job. I really hope they bounce back. Of course, a couple injuries now is going to be key again for Avon. But and I wondered, from the Brownsburg booth there, I just thought Brandon Peters was a bit off, and we asked Coach about before the